Washington, Buffalo, Arizona Cardinals, Chargers, Ravens, Steelers. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. The Niners are also a landing spot. A retention situation is still on the table. We don't know where Brandon Aiyuk's going to go. But the temperature in the room right now is very, very much pointing in the direction of he gone. And you can... I don't even think people are even, Niner fans are even holding out hope anymore. I used to get my I used to get my ear chewed out by Niner fans. Whenever I go live on Instagram and talk with the boys, the Niner boys, about this situation. Oh, you're going to see when you circle back. I think he's gone. Now, the one thing I'm going to say here and right now, JD5 doesn't need Aiyuk to go to the moon or to go to Saturn. But if he gets him, you better watch out. You better watch out because JD5 and the Washington Commanders are playoff bound. They may not be playoff bound this year. They may be. I kind of think they're going to be, to be honest with you. I feel like this is the Houston Texans' rookie year for Stroud, taking the team into the playoffs. I think the Washington Commanders could be that good. I'm not guaranteeing it, but you give me Debo or Aiyuk on this roster with JD5, he's going to the moon. We're going to talk about JD5 in a second, unrelated to Brandon Aiyuk, and I'll just say this, that head coach Dan Quinn said that JD5 is further along than he should be. And we all know that. We've been saying that for a long time. This guy looks like a veteran on the field, throwing missiles through a square this big, just hearing the net, nothing but net over and over and over. This guy is a marvel. First one in the building, last person off the field. And you got other quarterbacks that are doing well too, like Drake May's impressing. JJ McCarthy is such a good character guy. I'm rooting for him. I just don't think he's got the ability to feed JJ and Addison and Hawkinson anywhere near the tune that Cousins in that offense could. And then you got Caleb talking about ownership of the team. I'm going to win 8 Super Bowl rings and beat out Tom Brady because that's how I roll. I'm going to be an absolute smash and marvel in this league, where Jaden Daniels is out working hard, doing his thing, proving it on the field, showing his teammates. I can't wait to see everybody that doubted JD5 to circle back around, either disappear and vanish into the ether, never to return again, or they come back and act like I didn't really doubt him at all. I just, I just wanted to wait and see. Well, you know what I have to say to that? I want ownership of the team that drafts me. I want 8 Super Bowl rings. Oh, by the way, I'm creating an investment firm. My name's Caleb Williams. I'm so focused. The Fantasy Football Show begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
Oh, where shall our Brandon Aiyuk fall? Red Rover, send him to Washington immediately and give JD5 a smashing freaking top 5 running back season. JD5's already going to the moon. He doesn't need it. And who knows what kind of the deal would include, like a Dodson, and I don't want that really. I want this wide receiver crew with him. I want JD5 to have Aiyuk, Dodson, McLaurin, Ben Sinnott, Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, and then it's by far talent-wise above even the Chicago Bears situation, not to mention that you add in the coaching component. Kingsbury, boom, boom, boom. This ball is going down the field, zipping it. Denny Dots would approve if he even watched the show. I don't know if anybody knows that Denny, our famous caller, doesn't even watch the show, he admitted. And look, Luke McCaffrey, he would be moved right over to the running back room. Luke McCaffrey, if Aiyuk is acquired and Dodson and McLaurin are not sent back in a deal, Luke McCaffrey transitions to the running back room. Doesn't mean he won't catch a bunch of passes, but he will transition to the running back room. They'll absolutely do that. He'll be a wide back. He's Adam Peters' kind of choice to become that kind of guy. He saw something in him. His brother Christian McCaffrey comes from great pedigree. He has a great family connected to the NFL. This guy's got a lot of upside. No one's saying Luke McCaffrey will become Christian McCaffrey, but I think he's got enough talent, natural talent, to really be a nice little fit for a team and be a little, I don't know, almost like an inverse Taysom Hill version for this team. Like he could throw the ball. He was a converted quarterback. He's got that ability. He's just a different build than Taysom, but he's got that Taysom capability. I can't believe... no, he doesn't watch the show, Rock Out. We already checked. 100% confirmed he doesn't. I know he doesn't. I can already tell you why. I know a ton of reasons why. He calls the show whenever we're not live, and he rarely calls the show when we are live. He doesn't know when the show's on air. He doesn't. He has no clue. He just knows the times that we kind of go live, and he just dials us up while he's driving, whatever. Commanders are an option here, folks. Where do we want Aiyuk to land? Where do we want him to go? What is the best landing spot for Brandon Aiyuk? If I had to rank these, I'm going to say 100% Washington Commanders is my favorite landing spot. Is it the best fantasy landing spot? I would say it's a toss-up between Washington and Buffalo. I think Buffalo could be thought to be a little bit safer, a little bit better, a little bit more capable of feeding him the volume he needs. There's a lot of targets to go around. I think selfishly we want Keon Coleman to develop. We want Kincaid to not get affected. But I think there's enough footballs to go around that if you went there, Kincaid's still going to the moon. Coleman, he's going to be a tricky player to rank if that happens. I'm not going to lie. But it doesn't mean I don't want it to happen for Josh Allen, for Kincaid, for this Buffalo Bill team. A team that was very interested in trading for Debo and Aiyuk when I believe they were trading down in the NFL draft in round 1 to get into round 2 so they buy themselves the whole evening and morning to talk with the Niners and try and get a deal done. Didn't end up happening. They took Keon Coleman at the 2.1, decided to roll the dice with a rookie instead of trading for Debo and Aiyuk, and the Niners were already stuck with Ricky Pearsall. I say stuck with Ricky Pearsall, but what I mean is Ricky Pearsall is going to the moon.
To the moon.
I love Ricky Pearsall stock. I don't know if you guys heard. I woke up this morning to a piece of news that Ricky Pearsall stock
on the rise.
was going up. Pearsall stock almost split this morning, and it very well could split at any moment. So keep your tabs on that stock. It's the stock symbol is PEAR. So go get it now before it splits. These are the two best landing spots. I don't see another. I mean, we don't have all the options on the table here. Cardinals are interdivision. It's going to be tough for that to happen. I do like the move. Look, I don't think Harbaugh has any interest in it. I think Harbaugh looks at this situation and says, look, if I wanted a big-name wide receiver, I wouldn't have told Keenan Allen coming off one of his best seasons ever, take a pay cut or we're going to get rid of you. Like, you think he wants to pay the piper for a wide receiver? I don't think he does. He didn't draft Neighbors. Instead, he, in my opinion, didn't have the draft he should have had. He went after an offensive lineman. He can't even fit on his offensive line. He's got to move him around. Like, you think he's interested? He would have went after Neighbors. Neighbors in a second-round player would have been much better at the end of the day, in my opinion. Neighbors is that talented, but he didn't want to go that way. He doesn't want to entertain the big name player. Everybody's a number. He doesn't want big name guys. That's why he brought in Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. He sent Eckler packing. Eckler was told, you got to run 300 times, or we don't really want to go in this direction. That's another piece of news we're going to talk about in a minute. I'll send that over to my screen. Eckler was advised, we need you to run the ball 300 times. He said, I will break. I know my own body. I don't think that's a good idea. And they said, well, we're going to send you packing. Mike Williams, get out of here. Keenan Allen, take a pay cut. You're just a number. Get out of here. It was over and over and over. Anybody defending this situation and this build is just a Charger fan, which I understand. And if you like Harbaugh, I understand that too. I'm not mad at you. I don't think you are going to necessarily be right or wrong at the end of the day. I don't know what kind of offense this is going to be. I don't know if he can squeak out wins. But Eckler said this when interviewed on the Up and Adams show. He said that they wanted a guy to hand the ball off to 300 times a year. That's not my game. There was no harm, no foul. He wanted to get somewhere where they wanted to throw the football to him so he could get healthy, stay healthy. He's not at that point in his career where he wants to do that. It was smart for Eckler. But this team, the Chargers, doesn't want anything to do with big names, in my opinion. Maybe they change their mind. Maybe they don't like the way that their team looks right now because of the way Harbaugh's dismantled it. Oh, yeah, Smitty, he's got a natty. Who are you? Who are you? Do you think you know better how to build a team than Harbaugh? Apparently I do, or I wouldn't be here. I mean, as arrogant as it sounds. What do I look like? Niners are, like, let's just go across this whole board. And anybody else wants to throw out a team, we'll talk about it. The likelihood of him staying in San Francisco is still relatively high. I'd say it's not as high as it was. We're talking like maybe under 50% sum total, like new contract or playing on his fifth-year option. Those two options combined together is under 50% at this point. Doesn't mean it's not still likely. Doesn't mean there's not a 35-40% chance he either signs a new deal or he stays on roster. Thomas dropping the $5 hauler. Appreciate the Thomas Meister coming in strong, saying dynasty trade my Pittman. Well, not nice selfish comment right now in the middle of the rant, Thomas, but I like it. That's bull.
You've just been...
Thomas is putting his balls out there and he says, answer my question. And I'm going to say, okay, here you go, sir. Trade my Pittman for Pearsall and Marshawn Lloyd. No, you can't. You're buying Pearsall before the cart before the horse, bro. I think you're spending too much right here. Pittman's got more value than that. It's a little late to get in the the game of. I'm not saying you shouldn't trade for him, and I'm not saying you still can't get away with highway robbery, but I don't think I'd be get rid of Pittman. You can get a lot more in that deal. Ask for more. I'm not talking like a third rounder or something, Thomas. You need to get more than that. Come back to me with another super chat, and we'll take it down. Where were we at? So San Francisco, under 50% chance he stays, whether it's on a new deal or playing on the fifth-year option. I think he's getting traded more likely than anything else. And that other like 60% of him not being there, you could include that being one of the two wide receivers, Debo or Aiyuk, aren't there, because the team's going to inquire about Debo. If I'm the Buffalo Bills, you know what I say? And yeah, there's some people are liking Pearsall, some people aren't. It's not that I don't like the deal. You just got to get more for Pittman Jr. You just got to get more. It doesn't mean that I don't like where you're headed. I like Pearsall, but he's still not there yet. You're buying him. You're putting the cart before the horse. You got to protect yourself in case this doesn't go right, and then you lose Pittman. This isn't guaranteed. He isn't guaranteed to be traded. We're also talking about Kyle Shanahan, who could screw up Ricky Pearsall. You have doghouse him in year one. Who the hell knows what Shanahan's capable of? I do think Ricky will rise. I do think Ricky will rise like a phoenix and become the moon man that we've anointed him to be.
The moon man, dropping loads in outer space.
Buffalo, look, it's, again, as I mentioned already, it's a solid landing spot. Lots of targets to go around. I don't think he really impedes on Kincaid breaking out, or Coleman definitely impedes on his ability to be the long-term option, but maybe it's a Tank Del Nico situation. Washington, as I've already alluded to, is a fantastic landing spot. We got a $2 hauler from Rockout and from Al. Al says, how do you feel about Okonkwo this year? I like Okonkwo a lot. I think Okonkwo's got a lot of upside. We weren't wrong on the talent. He just didn't have the environment. And I think he's practically free. Would I draft him in a non-best ball? I don't think you need to. There's too many good tight ends. You can get Dallas Goedert and Luke Musgrave as your two tight ends and not even have to go near the Okonkwo types. But in a best ball setting, I'm always drafting 3 tight ends. Almost always. And I'm trying to land that tight end that can pop into the top 5 or 6. He was our guy last year, one of our two or three guys we thought could. He didn't. I don't think we were wrong on it. I think we were maybe a year early. I don't think he's necessarily a top 6 guy, but he could have some huge spike weeks in best ball. So best ball, yes, and non-best ball, not really needing to go there, even if he is good. Aiyuk, I guess they don't want me anymore, says Rock Out. Rock Out, thank you for the super chat, young man. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Rock Out. Appreciate both of you dropping wattage on the screen. Washington Commanders, interesting spot for sure, as I've mentioned. I think that by far and away, JD5 would have a much better arsenal than the Chicago Bear arsenal, even though I love Odunze. You got a aging out Keenan Allen, who I think shouldn't have been given away for a ham sandwich. He could still have a great half a season. He could sneak out one more really decent year with a couple missed games. Certainly possible. Not banking on it. He's one of my avoid candidates, especially now that he's in a crowded wide receiver room. But, I mean, you shouldn't have got rid of him. Now he's in a crowded wide receiver room, and he's the elder, and I don't know that it's going to end well for him. I don't think Swift is going to stay healthy after his brutal misusage in Philly when they wanted to turn him into their Barkley. They finally got their Barkley, and Barkley's going to the mother freaking moon. Barkley season's here to stay. Guy's going to go nuts. But as for this situation, give me Aiyuk. I give you JD5 taking his team to the playoffs as a rookie. Whether they lose in round 1 and they're preparing everybody for the future, which is going to be JD5 season. JD5 is a top 5 fantasy football quarterback for the future. He's going to be better than Lamar Jackson. Did you just say he's going to be better than Lamar Jackson? Smitty, you bet your bottom dollar I said he's going to be better than Lamar Jackson. He's going to be, first of all, he's a better passer already than Lamar Jackson. Oh, Smitty, did you just say you bet your bottom dollar I said it? If you're not keeping up, Bob, why don't you just watch the show on 0.25 speed so you can hear every word that's coming out of my mouth. He's already a better passer than Lamar. He's already as good of a runner as Lamar. He's one of the best quarterback prospects we've had come out of college in the last 10 years. He's the best pocket passer we've ever had come out of college in the last decade. He was certainly the best pocket passer coming out of the 2024 class. And if you don't believe me, you need to study up, pal. And you need to call into the phone line. We'll have a big old discussion about it. How you think Caleb Williams, because anybody that denies it is a Caleb supporter, and they just can't believe their ears. Their ears are bleeding when they don't hear that you love Caleb Williams. Let me tell the Caleb believers out there something that's going to really piss them off. Caleb Williams isn't even my second. He's not even my second ranked rookie QB. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, you know what? Caleb, go get Jaden Daniels a coffee. Go do it now. Go do it now. Jaden to the... If he gets Aiyuk, it's over. Anyways, he's a top 5 quarterback. And again, these amazing words from Dan Quinn, his head coach, saying that this guy is further along than you probably should be. This guy looks like a veteran out there. His entire team says they want to go to war for him. This is what you want to hear. This is what you want to hear. It's unreal. New England Patriots, I don't think they're ready for it. I mean, they could in preparation, I suppose. But then you got to ask yourself, they went hardcore after rookie wide receivers in the draft. Are they just going to keep taking stabs? Maybe. But it's possible. And keep in mind, guys, it's not like they get into this part of the year and they're like, oh, we don't think differently, or we haven't got a different idea, or hey, we like Polk and Javon Walker, but maybe, or Javon Baker, but we need to maybe. I think May might be more ready than we think, and let's get him a wide receiver that can help him develop quicker. That's the only thing that could potentially happen. The team that has the most money, I think it's $45 million to spend, is the Washington Commanders, which is why it makes the most sense. Here, let me put the pieces together for you. A, you had Jaden Daniels, JD5, on the phone with Brandon Aiyuk earlier, and we had a whole show on this, okay, where Aiyuk said to JD5, they don't want me back. They don't want me back. He's talking to JD5. JD5 yells in a very positive way when he hears that and says something to the effect of, "My boy!" And I don't know if he's saying, "My boy needs some meatloaf, ma, because we're celebrating. Get a plate ready. Get it ready now." That's kind of how I envision that going. I don't know if that's exactly what he said, because all we heard was, "Hey, ma!" But I think he's saying get the meatloaf on the slate. But JD5's on the phone with them. Aiyuk's posting that he's talking to JD5. They're fast friends. They played together at ASU. Aiyuk was a senior, and JD5 was a freshman. They've been friends ever since. They go live on IG all the time. The Commanders have the most money to spend, essentially. $45 million of the teams capable of going and getting him and needing to get him. $45 million available to go make this move. We've seen this as a trend in the NFL now. Joe Burrow says, "Go get me Jamar Chase." Done. Stroud says, "Go get me Tank Dell." Done. JD5's going to pick up that phone and say, "Go get me Brandon." He's already on a plane? Attaboy, Kingsbury. Attaboy, Adam Peters. You guys are going to the moon.
To the moon.
You get me. This is what I'd say. Where's my damn remote when I need it? This is what I'd say. Hey, it's JD5. You go get me Brandon Aiyuk, and I'll bring you a championship within 2 calendar years. Get it done. Do it live. Appreciate you. Thank you, Adam. Adam, you've done an amazing job. Amazing job with this team. I can't believe the Niners let you go. Go take Aiyuk from the Niners. So what am I telling you here? JD5, fast friends, most cap space. They'll do whatever JD5 wants. We're seeing wide receivers get paired together nowadays. That happens with their former quarterbacks and their buddies. Adam Peters was the GM of the 49ers, assistant GM, but he's really the acting GM. This guy was making all the decisions. Draft Kittle, draft Brock Purdy, draft him. Adam Peters was the genius behind the NFL draft selections for a long time in San Francisco. He comes over to Washington. Look what this man's already done. Look at this team. And I told you it was going to happen. I said this is the puppet master of the NFL, like Nick Caserio over in Houston. Told you he was going to do what he did in Houston. One of my favorite rising teams last year was the Houston Texans. Before that, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Detroit Lions. These are teams that we've seen coming from a mile away. And your boy told you Adam Peters was going to be a puppet master, and he was going to make this thing fly right away. What do you think Adam Peters is going to do? Pick up the phone and go, "Hey, Kyle, what's up, my pal?" And what is the likelihood that a trade happens between Peters and also Kyle Shanahan? A lot higher than normal. Miami Mike McDaniel has a nice line on getting a deal done and going acquiring 49er players. This is how it works. Who do you know? Who are you friends with? The line of communication is going to be wide open. Adam Peters has every single contact and ability to go in and say, "Give me that. What do you need? I got $45 million in cap space. I'll make Aiyuk happy, and we'll get a deal done. My boy JD5 wants it, and he wants it now." I have a feeling this is happening for the Washington Commanders. The Ravens, I don't get a sense that they're there. I know they're excited about running that damn football. I know they feel pretty content with their pass catching room with Andrews, Isaiah Likely to back up that situation. Zay Flowers coming around. Bateman's supposed to be on. I mean, look, this is a pretty decent team already. Would it help to have Aiyuk? Yeah. Do I think they're in that business? I don't think they are. Pittsburgh Steelers, they're always rumored to be, but are they going to get a deal done? Is the con man going to con his way into an Aiyuk deal? I don't think so, because at this stage in the game where Aiyuk's contract value is, his valuation around $29, $30, $31 million annually, $68 to $74 million guaranteed. That's what you're going to have to pay. I think the Steelers were going to play ball back when he was Ridley cost, when he was under St. Brown, under Waddle, under those territories, right around $60 million guaranteed. I believe the Steelers would have inked a deal in conjunction with the trade if it was in that ballpark of salary. I think the Steelers have no interest in paying a wide receiver even remotely close to $70 million guaranteed. Do you know who would because someone said get it done? The Washington Commanders would do it. The Washington Commanders would do it because JD5 would say so. It's the trend, ladies and gentlemen. It is the trend. I would love to know where you think Aiyuk will land. You can put San Francisco if you think he stays. You can put Washington in the comments if you think it's Washington. I'm going to spend the next 2 or 3 minutes dragging your answers on screen. So drop your answer now, and I will get to it. T. Higgins signed his franchise tag tender, his 1-year deal. He's locked up right now. I highly doubt a long-term deal gets done. This team is very much in favor of seeing how Burton plays out and then letting T. Higgins walk. Really, it seems like no interest in getting that done. Where will Aiyuk be playing? There's that news. I think we've covered everything pretty much today that needs to be covered. We'll add some stuff as we go. We got a Washington vote. We've got a Washington Commanders vote by Joe, or Redskins, he says. Washington by Brandon. Washington by Duke. 121.8 million guaranteed, says Andrew. That's what Higgins is getting. Jeb, appreciate your vote. We got a whole bunch of people dropping Washington, 100%. Glenn, our first Buffalo vote. Thank you, Glenn. Space Ricky says Jaguars. Brian says San Francisco. Washington, according to Phil. Cardinals or Patriots, says Hector. Got to start somewhere, says Blackbeard. Washington says DC Hogs. Commanders, let's ride. I think they pay Aiyuk to New England. Buffalo. Chargers. Daddy Dennis says Chargers. Kevin says Washington. Wednesday says the Patriots. Jolt says 49ers should keep and tag him next year. It's going to be hard to tag him next year because that tag's going to be like $30 million, bro. They're not going to be able to risk that kind of tied up money when they're trying to get Purdy into a deal. Aiyuk should have just taken the $24 million a year. No, Sick Nasty. I mean, I agree. I agree with you that the Niners should have offered him that when it was attractive and he would have jumped on it. I agree with you there. But should he take 24 when the going rate's 30? I mean, I wouldn't do that. But I agree with you if you're saying that the Niners should have just paid the piper. I've been saying that all offseason. I can't believe no Niner fans in here saying you're right, Smitty. Has anybody seen one Niner fan come in here and go, Smitty, you've been right on this entire thing? No, they don't. And even my Niner buddies will probably say I didn't get any of it right. Because they have goggles on. I've nailed this thing to a T every single step. Every single step. Not one Niner person that was riding me all this entire time saying, Smitty, you're gonna look like a fool later. You're gonna look like a total fool later. Where's my planet Uranus list?
And off he goes to the planet known as Uranus.
Take a deuce, take a deuce, take a deuce, take a deuce.
Oh, there's one. CD gonna hold out, not Aiyuk. Well, we had a few more Aiyuk ones on here. I don't know if I took most of them off the screen, but no one's in here saying you're right, Smitty. You nailed this. You nailed this the entire way. I don't need a cookie either. I don't care. I know you guys know, and I know. And that's all that matters to me. But insane. 49ers put 26 mil on the table. That's not enough. I mean, at the time, it would have been if they offered it at the right time. You can't offer 26 million. Today's price is not yesterday's price. And nobody can sit here and tell Aiyuk he can't get what Waddle got. He deserves what Waddle got. That's the new market. Doesn't matter what anybody wants to pay him. This is the Niners' fault. When will he be traded? It is the Niners' fault. 100%. They diarrheaed the bed. Like they do every offseason before the NFL draft. They diarrhea the entire beginning part of the offseason. They're the worst team in the National Football League from January to April. They are. Jimmy Garoppolo, that whole situation, Trey Lance, Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa, now Brandon Aiyuk. They're the worst organization in the months of we'll call it February through April. They don't know what in the hell they're doing. This Niner way is the stupidest way because it leaves them to these situations. You could have got Aiyuk to say, yes, please give me a $26 million annually a year salary. and give me $62 million guaranteed, he would have begged for it. Today's price is not yesterday's price. So it doesn't matter if anybody believes he shouldn't be getting 30 mil. That's the going rate for his category of player. Blackbeard misses Adam Peters. I get it, bro. Although you guys drafted good players, it's just it felt like there was a panic going on and you almost lost your first rounder. Like Ricky Pearsall, as much as I love him, he was a sleeping giant and is a great pick. This is not Niner based. Like if anything, we were, like I said earlier on earlier live stream, when we found out Debo and Aiyuk weren't going to get traded initially, like we think they will now, or one of them will, but coming out of the draft when the door got temporarily closed, or posture-wise it got closed, it was like, damn, Ricky's not in the best spot right now. You know, so it's not like the landing spot made us like Ricky Pearsall. We liked him before. I went on Raj's live stream like a week prior and said, if you trade Aiyuk, draft McConkey or Ricky Pearsall or Malachi Corley. Just like I went on his live stream and said, draft Brandon Aiyuk. And they drafted, not that they listened to me, the Niners, but the fan base didn't know who Brandon Aiyuk was. I'm more of an expert on Brandon Aiyuk than the Niner fan base. I'm the one that said to draft him. Let's see here. Last time the Niners won it all. Well, Daddy Dennis, they still have, look, that Cardinals, I can't say anything about championships. I can't say anything about how this team is a great team at the end of the day. Me saying they're the worst organization from February to April is for some reason a Niner fan's going to hear nothing but hate there because it sounds really negative. Rightly so. But I always talk positively about the Niners. Like from the perspective of Debo and how I think, Pearsall's going to become a star. You know, how good Kittle's been over the years. You know, Christian McCaffrey's been glorious there. There was some fear walking a little bit into last year. There's some fear walking into this year. He's had a huge injury history. You'd have to be absolutely out of your mind to not think about, at 28 years old, could this be the year he gets hurt? It's not that he can't perform when he's on the field, but Austin Eckler was 28 years old yet last year, and he had just as good a year practically as Christian McCaffrey had the year prior to last year. And everybody said, Eckler can't fail. Did you see the year he just had in 2022? One of his best years ever. He's going to ball out in 2023. And I said, avoid him. And why do I like him a little bit now? Because he's free. You know, he's practically free. And our hopes is that Kingsbury throws the ball to him, which will extend his life a little bit. Derrick Henry's life can be extended a little bit if they throw the ball to him, and I think Todd Monken can do that. Todd Monken did a fantastic job in one season. Lamar learning a new system, Todd Monken commanding a new system in 1 year. Look at how far they got. All they needed was Derrick Henry. Todd Monken's going to utilize Derrick Henry like Tennessee never did. Raise your hand in the chat or drop an eggplant emoji or a thumbs up or something to acknowledge yes if you believe that Derrick Henry can actually catch footballs as good as almost anybody in the National Football League. We just don't know that, or we know we know it, we just haven't seen it. And we've asked ourselves that question over and over and over again. Why don't the Titans throw it to Derrick Henry even 30% of the time? Give him 70% of his touches via the ground and throw the damn ball to Derrick Henry. You know how you can get a running back to give you one extra year? Throw to him. He can't hit the hole, give it to him in the flat. Derrick Henry's it's gonna be hard for him to get to that hole, especially with the offensive line concerns. It's gonna be hard for him to get more than 4 yards per carry, 4.5 yards per carry. I think he could. It's possible with Lamar, the way the boxes are stacked, because Lamar is being spied everywhere, all over the field. Flowers is stretching it. Andrews is healthy. We don't know what kind of boxes he's going to be looking at constantly. So Henry could get 5 yards a rip. But Henry is very, very quick to hit that point in his career where the hole gets closed up and he can't get through it anymore because he lost the step. How do you solve that? Get him the ball in the flat. Get him the ball as a receiver, let him gain some momentum, and then you can't take him down. Henry can go to the moon if you just throw the mother freaking football to him. How many? Raise your hand again if you can recall a bunch of touchdown throws where Henry caught the ball about 3 yards past the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage, right near the quarterback, grabbed the ball like this and just said, I'm going to take it to the end zone. And he just goes trucking along, boom, 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 stiff arm, boom, boom, you're down, goes into the end zone, and you're going, oh my God, this guy can catch the football. And then the Titans don't do it again. There's no rinse and repeat process. There's no remembrance of that Derrick Henry just took a 70-yard pass all the way down the field. Why don't you throw to him? Why don't you throw to him? Tennessee just crapped the bed over and over and over. We're just going to run the guy over and over and over. Did you see Derrick Henry catch that pass and take it 75 yards? No, I didn't see it, Al. I was drinking my my coffee. I mean, unbelievable. I think that's all the news, ladies and gentlemen, that we have for right now. I don't think there's anything new. I touched on the Austin Eckler, the T. Higgins. We've gone over landing spots. This isn't going to be the last live stream this week. I'm not saying my next one will be Aiyuk. It depends if we have news. If we have news, then it might be. And you're just going to have to deal with that. Open the phone lines. This is just part of the show. This is the monologue. We'll have open phone lines. You can change the discussion, the narrative, shape the show out however you want. The phone lines are open. And Call Saul says Henry to the moon with his membership question. Calvin Krim with a $2 hauler. Appreciate you. Torres with a $2 hauler. That boy with a $2 hauler. Appreciate you, my guy. Torres, thank you for yours. Kevin with a $2 hauler. And Joe with a $2 hauler. Let's get these super chats out of the way and then open the phone line, shall we? Thank you guys for dropping these wads on screen. You guys absolutely rock. That boy says Marv and Aiyuk modern day fits and Bolden and Arizona, please. That would be unreal. Kyler Murray's value would go to an unthinkable territory where we would just be like, I don't know what the hell to do here. Where do we put Kyler? Is he top 5 now? He just very well would be. Calvin Krim with a $2 wad says Saints and Falcons are interesting landing spots. They're certainly in the conversation. Until they're not. It's not like they're I just couldn't fit everybody. These were the most likely to me, but certainly the Saints and even like I said, the Patriots, there's a lot of options that potentially could end up turning into the the landing spot we hear about the most. This is the Niners' fault. There will be when will he be traded? Thank you, Kevin. Again, I answered that one already. I think that there's a really good chance it happens soon. $2 hauler from Alberto says this proves your point of Shanahan's stubbornness. Absolutely. Torres, appreciate you. The Realist says, what's Aiyuk's trade value in Dynasty? I don't know. That's a great question. I would imagine he's going in like the third round, second to third round turn. So you just got to think about players that are around that territory. Steven, mute your phone. What are you doing, bro? Hold on a second. I'm coming to you. Just mute your phone real quick. What's Aiyuk's trade value? It's tough to say. I would say, like, if I could get a Kyron Williams and Achane, I'm smashing the hell out of that. There's easy ways to make that happen, even if you throw something in. Daddy Dennis says last time in the already. That's not a super chat, but I appreciate you dropping that. Go ahead, Steven. You're live. What can I do for you?
Well, I just wanted to. I'm sure that you've already touched on it. I was kind of interested to know how you felt about the kickoff and special teams this coming year with the new kickoff rules and stuff. There's going to be a lot of misdirection. You're going to see wide receivers, running backs, catching the football, design runs, and how you think that could factor into fantasy football as a whole.
Yeah, I have talked about this a lot. I think that no one else is really talking about it, but I think that you'll see quicker scores. I think that quarterbacks will score more. I think we'll have way more quarterbacks scoring above a certain touchdown threshold than we ever imagined. I think stats are going to change quite a bit. There's a possibility that teams get really good at figuring out how to best pin the football into the certain zone that they're obviously trying to kick into, and we'll figure out if that ends up being a skill that a lot of the teams can perfect. But for the most part, you're talking about the football being so close to that 50-yard line. When do punts ever happen again? Like, are we going to see an all-time low, not by 1 or 2 or 5? Are we going to see the punter essentially become obsolete because you're just going to go for it because you're at the 50-yard line and you're expecting the team, if you were to score to get it, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be weird. Field position is going to be strange. Defensive stats.
If the punter is good at coffin kicking to a corner and the ball hits on the ground and goes out of bounds before it goes in the end zone, then the ball should be placed there, correct?
If the ball goes out of bounds before the pylon, yes, you could get it down to the 1, Steven. That's basic football, yeah.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I did, they say that the object of the game is not now is to not kick it through the end zone.
Yeah, but that's a punt. That's a punt. That's a punt. That's a punt, Steven. That's a punt. That's never changed. That's old. That's football. That's football. That's nothing to do with the kickoff rules. Like you kick it out of bounds, then you're feeding the team the football even further down the field. You can't kick the ball out of bounds on the kickoff.
Oh no, I murder a kicker for kicking it out of bounds.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
There's absolutely no sense in it.
Yeah. Anyway. How is it going to affect things? I think teams will score more. I think defensive stats will become different than we imagine them because there's going to be a lot more scoring. I think that you're going to have teams trying to use Eckler. You're bringing it. Hold on, Steven. Bringing in Rugg.
Would a team like Miami risk putting Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill in the backfield to catch a kickoff?
I don't know. We'll have to see.
And just deal with that speed.
We'll have to see because
you can't move until.
Steven,
the ball
can you hear me?
touched.
Can you hear me?
No.
Okay.
No.
They have to figure out the way to make this work and test it, guinea pig it. There's going to be mistakes made. There's going to be a lot of botched, attempts at this and that. But there are a lot of teams like the KC Chiefs that are going and getting rugby players for these situations. It's going to be very interesting to see if Austin Eckler is used in this capacity, and I think they're working them out to try it out. So we'll see how that works. Justin Fields has been talked about, but he says he's there to play football as a quarterback, not return kicks. We'll see what happens. I think teams have all these options on the table. But the most interesting thing we've heard and we've dissected on this channel was that the kicker is going to become a defensive back or a linebacker. Not for the field goals, but for the kickoffs. Because what's going to end up happening is if you're in a position where this team is getting, the receiving team is getting such an advantage of getting the football at a much further place down the field, last thing you want is your kicker constantly getting hit. And in the XFL, where this kickoff rule was derived from, the kicker was heavily involved in tackling the returner way more often than in the NFL. So the concern is if you keep like Butker on the field, right, he's going to have to do way more hitting and getting himself subjected to injury. Not to mention if you put a linebacker or a defensive back in a position to kick the ball into this zone, which is not that hard to do if you've got a leg at all. You're going to have an extra defender on the field that can make the football more likely to be pinned inside a very safe territory for the kickoff team. So that's going to become a very, very, you could say, infiltrated workaround. Everything is going to be a workaround.
Let me just ask you this, as far as a broader thing, just as an absolute, just a football fan. Do you think it has the possibility of being very exciting, but at the same time, if it doesn't work, they need to be able to move off of it quick. Because I'm not sure, and if it sucks, then they need to realize it sucks and get rid of it quick. I mean, that's all I'm saying on that.
We'll see. All right, Steven, appreciate you. All right,
yeah,
call in if you got another one. So Steven had these memo notes written down on his phone for weeks. He had to get them off his chest. Glenn with the $10 holler. Glenn, appreciate you dropping a wad, Glenn. I don't see a question attached, but I sure appreciate you. I'll look and see if you've got another question somewhere down below. Thank you, Glenn, for doing it live. Phone lines are open. Dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
It's going to be so interesting, though, if teams really figure out how to get like an extra DB safety in that formation, right? You kick the ball off, and it's like now you got a whole extra. And honestly, if they took this rule away, I think the NFL teams would stick to that concept and go, you know what? Holy crap, do we have such a bigger advantage now? Let's kick the ball off with a DB or an LB and figure out how to make this thing, different and have extra coverage on the kickoff returns. What do you think of A.D. Mitchell? I like A.D. Mitchell a lot. There's some concerns about, off the field, giving up on plays. His said to be bad management of his diabetes, which, again, comes down to not any sort of like, oh, he has diabetes. It's not saying that. It's that when we hear he manages it poorly, it makes it hard to believe that there's just some risk that he's Kadarius Toney 2.0. Just a little bit of that fear. But he's got the talent to become a Tyreek Hill. Like, I mean, he's such an untapped potential player. And sometimes these guys develop at the NFL level. Not saying he'll be better than Tyreek or as good as Tyreek or have a career Tyreek had. I'm just saying Tyreek was very much an unknown factor. Unpolished. You didn't know what he was. And so to that degree, just at a lesser scale. Hear my words. Not saying he's going to be Tyreek. But you're talking about a player that you just don't know what in the hell he's going to do. You just don't know what in the hell he's going to do. What did Glenn have a question? What do you think of? Oh, A.D. Mitchell. That was Glenn's question. Okay, good. I got you. Glenn, if you got anything else, let me know. Appreciate your super chat. Kadarius Toney is a true mental case whack job. Yeah. For sure. But we didn't know what he was either coming in. Like these things can get worse as a player gets in the NFL. Their heads start swelling up and they start demanding the ball. Like Kadarius Toney was so out of pocket right away. I don't know if you guys remember, but he was one of my biggest avoids before he became my Mars man. Like I don't know why it changed directions. It was like the year prior, I was like, don't go near him. He's a head case. He punched somebody on the field, came off the field. I don't know if you guys remember this rant that I did. Took his helmet off, sat on the sideline. His trainer or one of the staff members of the team walked over to talk to him, and he headbutted him. And then when he realized he headbutted him, he screamed and yelled at him and then marched off the field. And then later on in the next play, he dove onto his arms, and it looked like he broke both his arms. He didn't, but what a reckless move. And I remember saying to everybody, you got to run from this guy. He's an absolute head case. 3 major, screw-ups in one game that just told you what he was. And then I don't know what I was thinking the next year. I'm like, I started hearing Veach talk about him. He's the most talented wide receiver they have. And I got excited about the skill set. I think he's still one of the more electric players that the Chiefs have had in a long, long time. He's got Tyreek Hill's twitch. Like that ability to just his metrics were through the roof. I forget we'd cite those numbers all offseason that him and Kelsey were 2 of the best in the entire league in a certain stat category. I kind of forget what it was now, but man, what a absolute disaster he was. You thought Mahomes would save him, Smitty. I did think he would save him because Mahomes is a monster. Travis Rowe, you're live.
Yeah, I was just calling to say I think that's why you and me and a lot of people kind of bit on the Kadarius Toney thing was just because of the situation he was going to. And, there were a lot of good reports about, him working with Mahomes and we figured, if this guy can just keep his head on, halfway straight, what things could be. Yeah. So at least for me, that was a big reason why I bought in. I mean, I didn't buy all in completely.
Yeah, yeah. It was just exciting.
I was behind him being a Mars man, and I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm a little hesitant on Xavier Worthy. Like, not that I think he's a Kadarius Toney, but because maybe everyone that enters that KC system isn't automatically a superstar.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sold on Worthy yet. I'm not. I like Worthy. I'm not writing him off yet. I'm not.
He got banged up a little bit in some games. I don't think he had any major injuries in college, but I saw somewhere that some things here and there in college, and
he's tiny.
He already had tweaked something already, and just, I worry he's going to be one of those guys.
Yeah, he's tiny.
And I just like Hollywood too. I mean, and I know Hollywood has the issue with injuries here and there, but I think if he stays healthy, I think he's a legit, like pretty complete receiver. And I think a lot of people think about him when he was first with the Ravens, when he was just kind of like a speed guy coming out of college. And he's matured a lot as a wide receiver, learning routes and doing different things on the field.
So he's 5'11", 165, Worthy, and Tank Dell is 5'10", and weighs 165 as well. So they're like the same size practically. And I know everyone's going to reference that and go, Smitty, you love Tank Dell. Why don't you like Worthy? Because, I mean, here's the thing. And I'm not saying I can't get on board later. Again, I always reserve the right to change my mind. It's freaking June. Like, I might really like Worthy later. I'm not, like, closing the door on it. He's not a bust candidate for me. But I just look at this guy and I say, did we all love him before the NFL Combine? And the answer is no. Like, the NFL Combine changed your mind, and then everybody might have said, look, we overlooked him. And I get that. His film didn't look, it looked a lot better than you remember. Like, you look at it and you're like, okay, actually, you know what? Maybe we did overlook him a little bit. His speed's incredible. He suffers from a little bit of the dropsies, but I mean, there's a lot of upside here, no doubt. But he's a guy that was smaller that I didn't like absolutely love. Tank Dell was a smaller guy that I absolutely loved. And Tank Dell also came in with numbers that were absolutely through the roof. Yeah. He almost had the hat trick in college in yards, touchdowns, and receptions. He only missed, I believe, the reception part by, I believe, one reception. So had he had one more reception, he would have had the hat trick, the most yards, the most touchdowns, and the most receptions in FBS his final year in college before he came into the pros. So there was a lot to love about Tank Dell at the smaller size to overlook the smaller size. But with Worthy, I just don't think that he's too small, and I didn't like him that much. And I'm not saying he can't change my mind, but I think Hollywood Brown, I think Silver's got it right here. He nailed it on the head. Worthy's going to go get Hollywood's coffee. I'm not saying that Worthy can't sit at the table, drink coffee with him later, and somebody else goes and gets the coffee for him. You know, and they both ball a little bit. But Worthy's already dropping balls. He's banged up already. Not that those things can't work themselves out, but like, I didn't love him before the Combine. The Combine shouldn't change your mind. It should only accent what you already believe.
Yeah, and Tank Dell had put up those numbers the year before, too. He had 1,300 yards both of his last two seasons, and 90-plus receptions both seasons. So, it showed he can handle that workload, too.
Yeah. No, we got a $20 hauler from Outlaws. Pump me up with the new Achane news as wide receiver, so I don't doubt him again. I learned my lesson. Let me hit the little Achane button for you, though. Yeah, so look here, we got two forgive me Smitties, I'm sorry on the screen, which I don't see very often because people just don't like to whatever. But here we go. Young coming in with you were right, Smitty. Love that from my Niner fan Young. He says, here is your Niner fan saying you were right, haha. Thank you, Young. Appreciate that, number one. Then we got a Achane hater that we've turned, and he's all in right now. Pump me up. I'll pump you up. Watch this. There's a caseload of spinach that goes missing every single week in the Miami area. A truckload of spinach went missing. Achane shows up 10 to 15 pounds heavier. You tell me.
Achane. A-Chan is the man. His haters call him small.
But he is 9 feet tall.
A-Chan is the man.
What else you got, Travis?
Not too much, really. I think I was thinking, even as of last night, that Aiyuk might end up playing the season out with the Niners. And once he said those words, I think those are tough to go back from. I'm not saying he can't play the season out with them, but it really seems like kind of a breaking point.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen this, like there's more, we bring a lot of science to the channel. And here is a piece of basically reconstruction of the molecular structure and composition of the 49er wide receiver room and what it all means from a not only a psychological perspective, but a megawatt and component structure level processes. So here you go, and you tell me if you agree.
Scientists have discovered that if you split an atom, it turns into 2 larger atoms.
If you split an atom, let me play it again for anybody that missed it. Hold on.
Scientists have discovered that if you split an atom, it turns into 2 larger atoms.
We want to turn this one atom, this one wide receiver room, into 2 starting players in the NFL. Ricky Pearsall and Debo. Ricky Pearsall and Aiyuk have been one of my favorite side cuffs that you could find in fantasy football. Just absolute remarkable cuffing situation. Best ball, non-best ball, rookie, doesn't matter. In Dynasty, especially Dynasty. I've drafted so much of Pearsall and Debo, Pearsall and Aiyuk, I can't even explain it. More Debo and Pearsall, to be honest. And so if Aiyuk moves out of the way, now Debo and Pearsall, even though they're on the same team, are now starters for you instead of cuffing it. But you're also cuffing it because if Debo went down, Pearsall would come in and be a monster. It's one of the most genius deep end wide receiver plans of attack in fantasy football. I don't know how long you can do it anymore though, but it's been a deployment we've had for quite some time. So, I mean, you guys tell me. Let me go over to John real quick. John, you're live.
I just wanted your thoughts on Ray Davis, Joshua Palmer, and Khalil Shakir. Mainly Khalil Shakir, because the dude was amazing last year. He had like 39 receptions for 600 plus yards and 2 touchdowns. As far as I know, I think that depth chart is clear. Keon Coleman, and then Curtis Samuel, and that's pretty much it. So,
yeah, I like Shakir. He's good, bro. Do I think he's any better than like what would be the right comp for him? What would be the right comp for him?
Think he could be a Christian Kirk?
Yeah, probably like Christian Kirk this year, probably. Do I think he could be
I'm trying to think of him.
Yeah, it's hard to comp it right now because like could it be JSN last year? Like, yeah, I mean, it certainly could. Do I think that he steps up and becomes the number 1? It's certainly possible, but I think Keon Coleman he's got too much raw physical talent, and his drive is like no other wide receiver. He has the drive of Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I'm very excited to see, and plus the fan base loves him. Josh Allen could have been lying to us a little bit when he said that that's the number one wide receiver he wanted to throw footballs to, but he said it, and I believe that it's partially true. I'm sure he'd rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm sure he'd rather have Neighbors. I'm sure he'd rather have a Dunze, but maybe what he meant was from the wide receivers we were capable of drafting, you're the one I said go get him. And I believe that it probably is true. I don't think he would have said that. So the fact that, he's got every opportunity in the world, Kincaid's got the best, I think, upside to be the number one pass catcher. So even in what appears to be a very small wide receiver or pass catching room, he's still probably third in the pecking order. So we'll kind of have to see what happens, but he's a great player to grab late in a best ball draft, no doubt about it. Especially if you draft Josh Allen, grab Shakir and stack the two. It's a great move.
And Joshua Palmer and Ray Davis.
Joshua Palmer, zero shares. I've drafted him 0 times in hundreds and hundreds of best ball leagues. Zero interest I want nobody in that Chargers wide receiver room except for maybe McConkey at the right price, but he seems to go kind of high. And the only player I really find myself drafting a lot is Vidal. And I have a lot of ownership of him. I think he's one of my top 10 ownerships just because I don't trust what they're doing with the 1 and 2. I think that they absolutely crapped the bed. They have a saving grace that they have a good third running back, though. I mean, you could give them credit there and say they drafted Vidal, but they also drafted Vidal instead of drafting Braylon Allen or, so how much credit you're really going to give them. They got a competent guy and the situation will be good enough that a competent guy is going to be good. But good God, I mean, I want nothing to do with the Chargers. Nothing, except for Vidal, probably. As for the Buffalo Bill backups, I mean, who knows if Frank Gore even, is on the roster. If they bring him in, bring him out, cut him, bring him back. Who the hell knows how that's going to look. And Davis is probably a good option to, I would say he starts a game or two minimum. At some point, I could see him just getting a start or two. I can envision it. Now, what will he do? Will he become like a Ty Chandler? I think there's a possibility that he has a really good end of the season and we're wondering what he is the next year and all that. But I wouldn't bank on it. But I like him. He's a good stab in the dark. I like him a lot. Now, in a best ball, it's kind of tough to take guys that could give you zeros, though, bro. Because you don't know if Davis will get anything. You certainly can't bank on Frank Gore. So, yeah.
Appreciate it. Can I stay on the line?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know a lot of people love Palmer. I think he's very underwhelming. Just a run-of-the-mill wide receiver 3 on an NFL team. Am I off base with that?
No,
I don't see the attractiveness of him.
No, he's not. He's not a great player.
Would I take him on my NFL team?
Yeah.
Sure, but he's he's like that group that the Patriots are bringing in this year, the Bournes, the Osbornes, all these guys, just throw them in a bag and mix them up.
Yeah, him and Osborne are probably the same level. You could also say Rondell Moore, the Cardinal wide receiver that got traded to Atlanta Falcons for Ritter. Dumb trade.
Yeah.
Rondell Moore, is he ever going to be elite? I liked him a lot, though. When he got drafted by the Cardinals, I was pretty pumped because, he could out bench or I think out squat most linemen in the National Football League. He's a really strong guy. He's small.
He gets hurt a lot, right?
Yeah, he's built like a refrigerator.
I feel like he's got a little something there, but he just seems to always get banged up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see a lot of people love Palmer, and I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know why everybody's so enamored by him. I think it's, what it is. It's kind of weird.
Opportunity.
I'm not trying to crap on anybody's prediction if it falls in line with these, but it's the same thing you hear with Wicks and Dobbs, and you hear it with Joshua Palmer. You hear it with Quentin Johnston. Whenever there's any sort of opening for targets, Shakir. No offense, John. And I like Shakir a little bit. Whenever there's this massive opening, you have these ambulance chasers. People they want so badly to find that diamond in the rough that they consume a lot of the player, and then all of a sudden they're a cheerleader, and it's an unfounded support. There's no evidence whatsoever Joshua Palmer should have a fan club. There's none. He's got no guaranteed opportunity. Quentin Johnson's supposedly doing great. McConkey's in a spot. This team's going to be run first, and you think Joshua Palmer's going to get some work? You know, so like it just seems opportunity breeds that ambulance chasing desire to get that diamond in the rough when there's an open door, and maybe you land it. You know, one of these guys could do well, but I have zero interest. I'd rather go get a baller. I'd rather go get a Jahan Dotson, who I think is going to absolutely have a great year.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Shakir is the best one out of that group of players that I think he has the most upside. I like Shakir, but Joshua Palmer, I won't even remember to even look for him on draft day. Maybe I regret that, and if so, I'll be glad to admit it. I won't run from it. I won't pull he's gonna fail. Watch. Like Achan haters, they can't accept it. It's like, I'll accept it. If Joshua Palmer grows, then boom. But I mean, what's he proven? Nothing. He's proven nothing. I mean, he's been good in spots, sure, but he's proven zero consistency. He plays on a team that runs the ball, only runs the ball, and they're getting rid of everybody left and right. You think, oh, great opportunity. He's still the third pass catcher option on a run first team. Not a run first, run second, run third. Like, this is a team that's going to run the ball.
He's in that, and I think Jacoby Myers may even be better than, like, at the top of this group, but he's like the Jacoby Myers group. Like, there's a lot of people that think, like, Jacoby Myers is going to take that next step up, and I watched him for years in New England. I liked him, and I wish they kept him because they could have used him, but he's not taking that step up to an elite guy. He's just a good, solid receiver, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
I only said Khalil Shakir because the dude had 600 yards on 30 flipping receptions.
I like him. I like him. He's like I said, he's the one guy out of the list you gave me where I actually do want him. And think about it, bro.
Yeah.
Do I want Palmer? No. Who's his quarterback? No offense to Herbert, but Herbert is a different quarterback in this system. So Herbert's not an attractive quarterback. So he's just not. I'm sorry. Anybody offends you? It is what it is. Maybe he's a great football quarterback. He's no longer a fantasy football option. Not when you have this deep quarterback pool. Like, you could get Cousins and Penix Jr. cuffed together. I take that 100 times over just Justin Herbert. Like 100 times. You look at it like this and you say, give me the guy that has Josh Allen. Give me the guy that's Jordan Love. Wicks. I like Wicks way more than Palmer or Quentin Johnson or whatever, because he's got the quarterback, he's got the system. But the problem with all the Wicks arguments is that people are making the same mother flipping argument duplicated about Dobbs. It's like, Wicks, look at Wicks, but what about Dobbs? They're fighting each other. They're not taking Christian Watson and Jade Reed's job unless they get hurt, and Watson's injury history makes that a possibility. But Wicks is a very good stash, but he's not somebody that there are people that really actually believe he's the number one wide receiver there. He's not. He needs an injury for that to happen, which can happen. That's why you'd stash him. And I'm not against stashing Wicks at all. And I'm not against stashing Dobbs, but I'm not going out of my way to get them. And best ball, if I've got Jordan Love, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm trying to grab Wicks and Dobbs at the end, because that is a free stack in a sense. But this is not something to where Wicks is the number one. Like, people want that to be the case because they got him late in the draft and they're sitting on it and they want it to be true. It's not true until something major happens. But yeah, I mean, Shakir has Josh Allen, so there's always upside there. Does Herbert's value change if they end up getting T. Higgins or Brandon Aiyuk? Yeah, certainly, but I don't know how much though. Yeah, I don't know how much, because just because they acquire him doesn't mean they're going to start throwing the ball more. It just means that he'll be the guy consuming way more than anybody thought that was hoping a ton of shares were going to McConkey. I think Aiyuk would become I think Aiyuk, like Herbert, would be used at a 70% of his ability capacity. It would be like my example of Herbert is in a 200-mile-an-hour race with 200-mile-an-hour race cars, and Harbaugh's only allowing him to drive 120 miles per hour. He says, go out there and drive. You can't drive over 120. Go win me a race. And Herbert's like, this is how he's using his skills. He's not using even remotely close to his skills. Herbert's a baller. If he didn't have such a dead cap, I think Harbaugh would have traded for JJM. And I think if Herbert was in Minnesota, he would turn Justin Jefferson back into the number 1 overall pick. So let me give Herbert his flowers. Let me tell you, Herbert's an elite player, but Herbert's not an elite player in LAC. It is what it is. He's a trapped player, a very good player, great player, elite potential quarterback, trapped and handcuffed in a bad situation that Charger fans want to defend, because what else are they going to do? It's like a Niner fan defending the Aiyuk situation. What else are you going to do? Tell Aiyuk to kick rocks, because what else can you do? So the Niner fan base is irate at Aiyuk, just like I predicted and said they would be. And just like I predicted, I'm here to defend Aiyuk, because this is par for the course. This is how you negotiate on your 5th year. And the Niners are supposed to sign him earlier versus later to save money and to get it done. And they don't play by the rules. And now the Niner fan base is mad at Aiyuk, calling him a baby, a drama queen. The same exact nasty things everybody said about Debo. Half the Niner fan base is laying it on strong on Aiyuk like they did Debo. And I think it's ridiculous. And I'm here to defend it. Not defend the actions, defend the player. 2 super chats real quickly, and then let me hit the phone line if you guys want. By the way, New Age Outlaws, I never celebrated your $20 hauler appropriately.
Alert. Super chat alert.
I think Miss Smitty's cooking steak. I smell it. I smell steak. I built when I built the studio, I had an extra vent built onto it, so I have an AC. I have AC being pumped in here. I had the thermostat set up, the air conditioning rewired, so that this room is what the whole house is gauged off of. So when I want this room to be 77, 75 degrees, whatever, it turns the whole house 75 degrees. And if this room isn't 75, the AC is controlled by this room. I could turn it off, but I had to put a vent. So I have the AC ducts, and then I put a vent, and the vent had to go into the other room, and then that vent had to go into the other room to get the AC to function. Because whenever you add on a room to an existing house and AC unit, there's a lot of crazy things you got to do to make sure that the airflow is, funneling the right way. And I can smell everything that gets cooked. It comes straight into the studio. I can sniff that out like I sniffed out this Aiyuk situation. It smells like steak. Outlaws, appreciate you, bro. And then Hoosiers dropping a 5 says, we put super glue on a fly's wing. It died. Science. I think Hoosiers is talking about the Niners, right? I don't know. What's he talking about? John, you got anything else?
Yeah, are people sleeping on Tyler Conklin? Is he a sleeper tight end this year?
We keep hearing that. I'm not saying there's not merit to it, right? Because that's
the new popular thing.
Yeah, I don't know if someone's spreading that around, but I'm hearing that a lot. Well, I'm hearing it a lot. Look, Aaron Rodgers does target it. There's some reason to wonder about that, for sure. But it certainly hasn't been talked about before. All of a sudden, it's like everyone's Conklin. I heard Conklin's doing some. I don't know.
Wouldn't you say for him to be like a legitimate option, he'd have to have a year like Tanyan had that year, but because Conklin only gets 600 yards a year or whatever. I don't see him jumping up into 900 or 1,000. Maybe, but So in order for him to do that, like that year Tanyan had, he had like 500 with 11 touchdowns. So it would have to be something like he just becomes a monster red zone target or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you nailed it on the head. It has to be via touchdowns. Here's his career stats.
I mean,
I'm not trying look, I'm not trying to say somebody can't be an outlier. We've seen it before. Look, 61, 621, and 0. He had 5 touchdowns. It's a pretty good, season. So it's certainly possible.
Right.
But he's never had more than 3 touchdowns in a season. Can't get over that 61 receiving or reception mark, which is a good number, though. I'm not saying it's bad. I don't mind him. I'm not laughing because I think he's going to fail.
Underdog.
I'm just laughing because it's like it's never been talked about at all since Aaron Rodgers stepped foot. Even in the vicinity of the field, and now all of a sudden we're hearing a bunch of it. I don't know. It's interesting, that's for sure.
I only bring it up because I remember I think Joe Flacco may have been thrown to him. Somebody was, and when Joe Flacco was there, everybody's numbers were elevated, and now I'm comparing Joe Flacco to Aaron Rodgers, and I'm like, well, if these people performed well in their Joe Flacco, how are they going to perform when they have someone who's like 2 or 3 times as better? Although he's 40, 41, still has to equate to something.
Well, I will say this: the Jets made a big push. Sorry, Travis, 1 second. The Jets made a big push to trade for the draft pick to select Brock Bowers. So they're not enamored with Conklin, or they wouldn't have been maybe that aggressive. They're really trying. Like it came out that they were literally trying to get that pick for like they wanted it so bad. So but that's Bowers. I mean, he's an upgrade over anybody. But I think I don't know. Part of me thinks they should make a trade. They should try and go get an Isaiah Likely. I know that the Ravens probably wouldn't want to give him up, but there's potential opportunity. I mean, look, Hawkinson got traded. It's not like tight ends.
Michael Mayer.
Yeah, Mayer would be perfect.
Michael Mayer.
Yeah, Mayer. That's probably my favorite trade target tight end to be moved by the trade deadline. Get Michael Mayer out of LV. He's just wasted there. Mayer would go. God, that would be amazing if Aaron Rodgers got Mayer. I wanted Mayer to go play with Aaron Rodgers, as a rookie. So it would be an unbelievable marriage. But if you
the Patriots to go get him.
Yeah, if you're Aaron Rodgers or the Patriots, you should overpay to get Mayer because the team's probably going to be like, yeah, we're not using him. Well, you give us a great offer, we'll do it.
Right. And I was just going to say Conklin. Where I do like Conklin is underdog as your second or even your third tight end.
I'd take him as a third.
Swing.
Yeah,
because he's 177 ADP.
Would I draft Conklin in a non-best ball? No, absolutely not, because you don't need to. No. You could draft, like I said, you could make your late tight end strategy Goddard and Luke Musgrave. Like you could grab those 2 guys and be absolutely ecstatic about your 2 late tight ends you didn't grab. In best ball, I always draft 3, and Conklin would be an ideal third. Kraft, if you already have Musgrave is an ideal third. So yeah, in certain areas of fantasy football, especially best ball, I would definitely dabble in a little Conklin.
Appreciate it, Smitty. Have a great night.
All right, later, John. Anything else, Travis? I'll probably be back. I'm hoping tonight. I can't promise it, but I've already done 2 live streams today. But I might try and come back, and if I do, it might be Dynasty. I don't know. Dynasty channel.
Nice. No, I was just going to say, it's that time of year, too, where you see, certain guys popping up as, like Conklin or, Shakir, Palmer, like these, people are looking for sleepers this time of year. And one guy I'm starting to see bubble up with popularity again is Deontay Johnson again. And saying, he's going to be a target monster and he's going to get all the targets in Carolina. And to me, it's like, I look over there and I go, how do we know what's going to happen there? Because they have Deontay and Thielen, 2 older dogs, and then they have a bunch of young guys. So, which way do they go? They could want to focus in on the young guys just as much as the older guys, So, I never liked Deontay anyways, but it's just funny to see again, these people like doubling and tripling down. Like, this is the year that Deontay's going to have a big year.
I mean, I heard it last year, and I'm like, no, thank you.
Right. Oh, last year he was going to be a top 10 wide receiver.
I know.
Is what I get.
I remember I did video after video on that. Like, what in the hell are you guys doing? What in the hell are you guys doing? Why is he going? Why is he going this high? And I said the same thing about, like, you know, on a different level. Like, Waddle going at 13 and 14 overall last year was ridiculous. And the fact that Waddle's being taken in the second round right now, like clockwork, is wild as well. I don't understand. I like him, and if Hill goes down, he's proven the ball. I'm not saying he can't, but we need to stop taking number 2s in the second round.
Here we go. Right in the chat. Deontay's going to get a lot of volume. Deontay to the moon. And that's pulling down.
Yeah, and it's okay if anybody feels that way, but like I don't really understand it, but it is what it is. Leggett looks good. Yeah, there's a lot of mouths to feed there, even though some might say, oh, he's the best, most talented target. Like, he's a target hog. Like, I mean, what's everybody remembering there? You know, like, keep in mind who he was getting targeted by. Like, you know, I don't know that he's necessarily going to be a target hog with Bryce Young. Like, I don't know that that's going to translate just right on over. I don't think it's going to necessarily fly. And he's got stone hands. And, you know, he's failed how many times now? Like, at what point does he just all of a sudden pop? This doesn't really happen like that. Chargers beefed up their O-line. Harbaugh wants to run. Yeah, we know that, Calvin. We know that. Are we overlooking the running back room? No. I mean, Vidal. As I keep saying, Vidal. Gus Edwards. You think Gus Edwards is going to hold up? J.K. Dobbins is coming back from an Achilles tear. Like, no running back has ever become a top 10 running back in the history of the NFL off an Achilles tendon tear. Ever returned to it. Even 5 years later, 4 years later, no running back has ever been a top 10 running back once they've torn an Achilles. Ever. In the history of the NFL. And he is the most injury-prone running back in the National Football League to boot. And had an ACL tear the year prior. And Gus Bus, like, look, he was not very good last year. He just got volume, like touchdown volume. He was not very efficient. He was very, very up and down, very inconsistent. You know, he finishes a very late running back rank every, you know, except for this handful of weeks that popped his stats up, these spike weeks. So in best ball, there's opportunity, I suppose, here or there, but I want nothing to do with Gus Bus or JK. Give me Vidal. Overlooking the running back room if people aren't looking at Vidal. But, yeah, I'm not even sure Harbaugh is going to be able to do what he wants to do here. He doesn't just come in and get a golden ticket to say, hey, his team's going to actually be great his first year. Look at all these teams, and I know he coached in the NFL a long time ago. You don't just come in and just, everything's great glory. Look at Sean Payton. He's such a good coach, right? Wherever he goes, he's going to fix it. Look at Denver. Look at Bill Belichick, greatest coach of all time. Can't do anything anymore. Can't recover and bring the team back. Just because Harbaugh had glorious success does not mean he's going to take this franchise that cannot do it, has continued to fail. They bring in Kellen Moore, he fails, and everybody blames it on him. But I believe it's LAC. I don't know. It feels like it's doomed to fail. Maybe they turn it around. Maybe Harbaugh does some things, but no way in hell I'm going. Phil, if you like Gus, don't let me talk you out of it. Always trust your gut, pal. But I want nothing to do with it. Not when I can go get these other dynamic running back rooms. Like where Gus Bus and those guys are going, I could get Trey Benson. Remember Seb Benson? Didn't Seb Benson die?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad.
I think he did.
Yeah. He was such a fun running back to own. Him and Cadillac Williams that year. Yeah. Cadillac was so fun.
2019.
Yeah, Cadillac Williams, said Benson, man, that's sad. But I get
few good years.
Trey Benson. I get Connor and Benson together. I get Najee and Jalen Warren, Jonathan Brooks. Give me all of that over Gus Bus. Like, I want nothing to do with the Gus Bus. But good question.
My question My question with Vidal is, like, I take a decent amount of him, and I like his, situation and stuff. As a pure talent, though, like, he didn't go until the 6th round. So people weren't clamoring to draft him. Is it more so just the situation, like Kyron? I know Kyron wasn't drafted high; he was a 5th rounder. So is it something like that where there's something there, but he's got to be in the right system, and this is the right system or situation for him, or do you think he could just other teams slept on him type of thing?
For which player?
Vidal.
Vidal, yeah.
He was a 6th round. So like, it wasn't like teams are clamoring to draft him. So I'm just curious about
Yeah, I don't know.
Talent
I don't know. I think he's just he was a good, solid, prospect amongst a lot of other good, solid prospects. I think the allure is that he's in an old man, all ACL running back crew for a team that plans to run the hell out of the ball. So, like, that makes him a little more attractive. If Vidal went to back up James Cook, you'd be talking about him in the same breath as Davis. If Davis went to the Chargers, you'll be hyping up Davis more than Vidal. If Frank Gore Jr. got drafted, not picked up later, drafted onto the Chargers roster, everybody and their mother would be drafting Frank Gore 2 or 3 rounds higher than Vidal. So I think Vidal is a product of a good little situation there. Mustard says nobody said Kellen Moore failed. It was Staley. Bro, everyone said, a lot of people are saying that Kellen Moore failed. Whenever I bring up Kellen Moore going to take the Eagles offense to the next level, everybody says, oh, he failed in LAC. I hear it every day. So you're wrong on that. I'm not saying that people that know what they're talking about aren't thinking it like you and I are, but I hear it every single day. And this guy Staley, this failure, guess who where he went? San Francisco, to be the assistant head coach. So and even though the Niner fan base hates this Staley guy, they absolutely just wanted to vomit when they ended up bringing this guy on board. I don't know what it is about Shanahan. This is what makes Shanahan such a bad head coach. He's a phenomenal offensive coordinator. He's a phenomenal scheme guy. And his coordinating and his scheming is what gets him out of trouble and makes him look like a perceived good head coach. His offense makes him look like a good head coach. Listen to what I'm saying, because when people say, "Oh, then how did he get to an NFC Championship, Smitty? How did he get to a Super Bowl, Smitty? How does he continue to do this and continue to do that?" Because his offensive coordinating overpowers a lot of his weaknesses, and his team's so good they carry him. But who miscoaches every single year in the playoffs? Who almost lost against the Green Bay Packers and got bailed out by his team? Who almost lost against the Detroit Lions and got bailed out by his team amongst a whole lot of luck? And who failed to deploy the right scenarios and strategies in the Super Bowl, and who fired their defensive coordinator and blamed it all on him when he held Mahomes down to a pretty decent, first half, right? If the Niners had stopped Mahomes' final touchdown throw, and it was the defense that won the game, would they have fired their defensive coordinator? Answer in the comments. If the defense won the Super Bowl and they stopped Mahomes on that final touchdown pass, are they firing their sideline Steve?
No.
Is Wilkes gone? The answer is no. You could say whatever the hell you want. That would be the first time I think we could probably remember that a defensive winning coach gets fired after he wins the Super Bowl. The Niners lose the Super Bowl. The scapegoat is Wilkes, sideline Steve. And then they bring in this guy, Brandon Staley, and now, it's crazy, man. This guy is an absolute. This is the guy that does that downward-facing dog before games out on the field. He gets in the dog position and goes like this. Just horrible decision. What are the only wide receivers you would take in round 2? Debo. If Aiyuk got traded to Buffalo, Aiyuk would be right in my radar. Honestly, I'm obviously liking MHJ. Depends if it's best ball, he goes in round 1, or the 1-2 turn, 12-13 overall. but like in ESPN leagues, MHJ falls there a lot. That's why I don't draft a lot of wide receivers in round 2. I think I'm starting to like DK at the top of 3. So like at the 2-3 turn, I could take him in the 3rd round, take Achane or Kyron in round 2. But the 2nd round is a tough wide receiver territory. I'm going to have a video coming out here in about 24 to 48 hours that is the draft strategy I can't stop deploying. And that is going like Chase or going with a St. Brown, or better yet, a Chase or a Hill, or, you know, any of those top 4 or 5 wide receivers, and then going Achane and Kyron. Well, I'll talk about that video, obviously, during the video, but I'll drop it in like a little bit. Anyway, Travis, anything else?
No, that's it. I'll talk to you later if you're on later.
Yeah, and Brandon Rice, that's another one, Prime, that's just in the way. Like, is he going to be the guy? Is he going to be Quentin Johnson? Is he going to be Joshua Palmer? Is he going to be... It's like, I don't know. No one knows. No one knows. Thank you, John. Appreciate the question. 2nd round's tough, bro. All right, Travis, we'll see you potentially tonight. See you on the Patreon later. If anybody doesn't know, the Patreon is a poppin'. That's where all of our community hangs out day and night. It's so nice there. It's replacing the Discord. The Discord's gone. Now it's the Patreon. Here's the link. I'll pin it in the live chat. Join my Patreon. And it's $10 a month, but it weeds out all the trolls. You have people that are very serious about ball, just sitting in there, living on the Patreon, helping each other out, asking trade questions, congregating when they have a dilemma. On game days, we'll be gathering together to watch games together, essentially just, talking and chatting and saying, hey, what do you need? Oh my God, what do you guys got? And it'll just be such a fun environment to live in. Let me pin that message. That message has been pinned. And the first 200 people to sign up, which is going to be true till about midnight tomorrow, if I had to guess. The first 200 people to sign up get into a 242-man league, and it's going to be drafted live on the channel on a Saturday and maybe a Sunday, because it might take that many hours. But it's going to be 11 leagues of 22 people, best ball style, 4 starting lineup spots, 4 bench spots, no lineups, no trades, no ad drops. It's best ball. You're drafting, you're done. You can't touch it all year. You better make the right picks. You better get the right depth. 22 picks in each round. Who are you going to grab as your quarterback? Is quarterback the most important position? All the scoring and everything will be relayed to you. Don't need to ask me about it constantly, because I'm going to give you all the details. But the first 200 people that join the Discord, we're going to max this out quickly though. Get into this league, and then the 11 winners of the 11 leagues the next year in 2025 join me in a dynasty league, and we're going to do that live. It'll be the official dynasty league of the channel, and it'll be a normal league, not 22 people. It'll be a normal dynasty league, just kind of like the victors of these 11 leagues jumping into it. So, and there's also exclusive content, which I'll be dropping something tonight or tomorrow. Appreciate everybody on the Discord. Thank you to all my super chatters. It looks like we got 2 more in the building real quickly before we jump. Calvin with a $10 holler. Calvin to the freaking moon, dropping a 10 wad that gets a $10 moonshot. I hear you, Smitty, but at the end of the season, there has to be a running back or wide receiver that emerges as fantasy relevant. Most LAC running backs and wide receivers are so low in fantasy rankings that there is no risk. I'm okay with that. I'm okay, but I'd rather. Here's the problem though, Calvin. It's not that they aren't good value, but like I said, Dotson's one of the final wide receivers I get to draft, and I'm taking Dotson over those guys all day because I believe in him. There are other wide receivers that I like Javon Baker, who I just think has a better upside than trying to pick the right Charger wide receiver. Especially in best ball, you pick the wrong guy and he gets you 0 points for 7 weeks out of the 17. You're screwed. You can't have a 0 for that many weeks. So are you picking the right guy? Is it Brandon Rice? Is it Joshua Palmer? Who the hell knows who it's going to be? So it doesn't matter that they're good value or free. There are a lot of good values and free players. Is McMillan going to be better? Is McMillan a better pick? So it's a good question. It doesn't mean you're wrong. Trust your gut, Calvin, but I'm not going near it. Vidal, I've already said it 10 times. I'm not saying that because you're asking the question, Calvin. I'm just saying for anybody wanting to know, I've said it 10 times on this live stream. I draft Vidal like crazy. So you're right. But I've said that 10 times. Vidal. Go get Vidal. Calvin, get Vidal. Draft him. He's free. I like him. He's got a good odds of getting a bunch of starts. But I'm not going near Gus. I'm not going near JK, the most injury-prone running back left in the National Football League. Akers and him were just absolute avoids from the jump for me. And then the wide receiver room, I just don't want to touch it. Maybe McConkey, but he's too expensive. Past that, give me all these other receivers I like more than trying to guess which one. So value or no value, I want no part of it. But I appreciate you. Calvin to the moon. Calvin, you know that we agree on most everything. But I just can't, I'm not getting behind it because I don't know which one. I don't know which one. What are the only wide receivers? Oh, I just did that one. John, thank you. Appreciate that super chat. I will see you all later. Calvin Krim to the moon. Thank you, Calvin, for your glorious super chats today, you monster. Let's send Calvin to Saturn for all his support. Calvin, you know I appreciate you. I'm always going to be honest with you, though. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything because someone dropped a super chat. I think that's what you appreciate about the channel. Am I right, Calvin? So, Calvin, thank you for your two super chats. You're dropping fire tonight. John, thank you. Hoosiers, thank you. Outlaws, appreciate your $20 hauler. Glenn, Joe, Kevin, that boy, Alberto, Calvin Krim again. Rock out, Al and Thomas, thank you all for dropping super chat glory in the live stream. And on that note, I leave you with let's go with the good old
Hi. What would you like? Footballs, please. Lots of footballs, please. Coming up.
He's Marvin, he's 11 feet tall, and he loves to consume the football. He's Kyler, he's 4 feet tall, but starving Marvin will answer the call. They're Kyler.
Appreciate you all. See you later. Thank you to my mod squad, Space Ricky, Blackbeard, Travis Rowe, all my mods in the building. Who else is here tonight? Thank you, Blackbeard. Thank you, guys, for being here. Travis, thanks for Blackbeard and Travis helping moderate the Patreon as well. Get on over to the Patreon. The link is pinned in the live chat. Don't forget, on Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty, we draft most midnights. If you want to get in on those drafts, hit this link right here, and they'll match your first deposit 50% up to $250. So you drop 100, they'll give you 50. If you drop 10, they'll give you 5. The minimum is $10. Appreciate you all. Underdog Fantasy, hit the link. Don't be caught without the app and the link hit and the code used, promo code Smitty or the link. Both of them get it done. Links in the description of every video. Code Smitty gets it done just like the link does, but the link is for lazy people. You want to smash the link and have the code and it's inserted for you. There you go. Dynasty Show, we'll try and do it tonight. Appreciate you all. Deuces. See you on the Patreon where the conversation gets extended. Deuces.